Hello, everyone. Hey, Frankie Hahn. We are live broadcasting from the Berkshire Philosophical Event in the beautiful Berkshire Mountains of Massachusetts, the United States of America. And Frank, we are coming off a phenomenal 8-hour broadcast yesterday. By the way, we just have the stats in here. 15,280 people tuned in yesterday from around the world, certifying this is the largest chiropractic event in history, and we're glad you were able to be a part of it yesterday. We have some added bonuses today, of course. We are going to be starting a Green Book study, which I got to tell you, Frank, a lot of people from around the world that have attended Spiz Wizard seminars, sometimes they'll hear a little rah-rah-rah from the stage, but they don't really get the meat and potatoes, so to speak, the depth of philosophy that an event like this offers. And, of course, the Green Book Studies is a great opportunity for that.
That's one of the main reasons why I like coming to Berkshire's here, because you get some rah-rah, you get some great information, and then you get to talk philosophy too. So you get to cover everything.
That's right. And Frank, again, in many chiropractic schools around the world, sadly, the philosophy of chiropractic,
Dr. Andy Roberts,
the philosophy of chiropractic is considered almost a historical concept. And one of the things I find when you go deep into the Green Books is, holy smokes, the philosophy there, the why, right, behind what it is that we're doing, is actually the why that, if applied today to this failing healthcare model as we know it, it has the potential to transform and evolve the world as we know it.
Whenever I talk with some students that are coming up to visit my office, and I say, if you're ever struggling, go back to your philosophy. If you ever feel like you're losing a conversation with a person, go back to your philosophy. That's really, really important.
Frank, that's a great point. As you know, I have 19 chiropractic offices, and I'm always working on training my associates and teaching communication strategies around the world in Schubel Vision. Of course, you'll be a part of that in Amsterdam, Australia, and Mexico this year.
Because at least they get it. Hey, Dr.
Kevorkian. Good morning, everyone.
Looking sharp.
Hey, we're going to rock it today, guys.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I agree, Frank. Oh, look at this. Dr. Sean Dill, our membership director.
Coming out. IFCO. They're already out.
Well, I got to tell you, you need to go right now to TIC Event, www.ticevent.com. I was just talking to Scott, and registrations are going through the roof. So if you want to be here live next year, it's the time to act. If you mess around, listen, I'm thinking that by the end of today, there's going to be no spots left.
It's going to sell out.
Yes, yes, I agree with you.
Sell out.
So here's the thing, folks. If you're just joining us, we're, of course, broadcasting live from the Berkshire Philosophical Event. My name's Dr. Liam Schubel. This is, of course, Dr. Frankie Hahn. We have Dr. Sean Dill, our membership director of IFCO, and Dr. Jack Borla, who's the president of IFCO, who, of course, has the vision and the perspicacity to make this whole thing happen, along with the generosity of Dr. Scott Garber. And what Dr. Dill is talking about is getting tickets to the live event, actually being here at the Berkshire Philosophical Event in beautiful Berkshire Mountains of Massachusetts in the United States of America. And we have people, of course, coming in from Europe, coming in from Australia, all over the world to be a part of this, because it is the premier chiropractic event worldwide, and we're gonna. You've seen examples of that. I mean, Thursday was supposed to be our light day yesterday, and you've seen that that the depth of the content that is presented here at this Berkshire Philosophy Event.
And you got just a piece of it yesterday, and we still have 3 more days or 2 more days to go.
That's right.
So if you want some more of that, and you want to be here for that live event, you got to get the tickets in and purchase them right away.
Well, yes, and that's what people are talking. People are talking about
it's going
the opulence.
To sell out.
People are talking about the opulence of the event. People are talking about the level of content, the usable content that they can use and improve their practice, right? Because nobody wants to spend a lot of money, go to this Spiz Wizard event where, hey, rah, 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 I'm feeling great about who I am, and I go back and my practice flops. And on top of that, I have a big bill I've got to pay for travel and everything else. Dr. Garber makes sure that all the speakers here, he demands it, all the speakers here provide usable content that you could take away and improve the profitability of your practice and improve the ability that you have to make an impact.
And by being here, you get the relationships that you may not be able to get by live stream.
That's a great point.
What happens, it's what happens in between the talks, where the relationships really begin to develop, and then you can further them. There's nothing like putting a name and a face together. We all use.
Thank you. Can we replay your reaction to that? That was great.
Medic. We all. we all have our relationships on social media,
Right.
And there's nothing like sealing that with a hug and a shake and actually spending some time with those people.
And here's what also happens. So we get great information from the platform, and then when we're in between speakers or when the seminar is over for the day, now we're talking with one another.
And we're stalking too.
And stalking too. But a couple of the students came up to me and Dr. Hahn, can you tell me about practice? What's practice like?
Yeah.
And you can't get that from a platform speaker, just that conversation.
Right.
They get so much information from that.
And not only, so you can't get that from the platform, but you also can't get this live stream anywhere else.
Right.
So, we are the first to have done this with Garberfest and the IFCO, and we're proud to be the pioneers of that. If you're not using the technology today, then you're really not going to reach the number of people that you can. And so we're extremely happy that Liam's pointing his finger as if he was an authority on something.
Jack.
How's Kelly doing, by the way? Is Kelly awake?
Jack,
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I have to tell you something very important.
Please.
The numbers came in from yesterday's live stream broadcast. Dr. Scott Garber shared it with me last night. 15,280 visitors or viewers yesterday on our live stream event.
Yeah. Can I clarify that?
Yes.
That's 15,200 people who logged in. There were some areas where there was a room of 30 and 40 and 50 people, and so those numbers aren't actually in that 15,000.
Might even be a little bit higher than
It's
that.
probably a little bit higher.
Well, yes, and I
students.
think we have over 230 people here at this event this
Correct.
weekend.
Right.
So again, the point we want to make here is that this is the largest chiropractic event in the world. That's
Right.
number one. Number two, that Dr. Scott Garber has announced the registration for next year's event. If you want to be here and be in the audience live, that has just opened up. If you go to tickevent.com right now, you can register. And I got to tell you, it will be done by the end of this weekend.
Yeah.
There's no way you'll be able to get a ticket again, and you'll be watching one day on the live stream, which, by the way, yesterday was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Right.
But goodness gracious, Friday, Saturday, and again, as
Oh,
you
my
mentioned,
goodness.
the stalking
Yeah.
opportunities
Right.
and the ability to connect with people. There's a huge tribe building here, and people are coming back year after year.
You want to be here.
You
if
want to
can.
be here.
And you don't want to downplay what's happening this morning and again tomorrow morning.
No, certainly
where we're
not.
going to have some of the most effective minds, some of the most brilliant minds in chiropractic who are well versed within the philosophy, who are going to be dissecting out the green books.
That's true.
So, I mean, we can have the green book studies, but we're not going to be able to dive deep like we are this morning.
Right.
So the people who are going to be fortunate enough to be watching from wherever you are in the world, this is an opportunity for you to listen to and to begin to question for yourselves and learn and really begin to own the chiropractic philosophy. So get your Stevenson's books out, get your chiropractic textbooks out, and follow along with the lessons this morning. You're going to have 4 great speakers this morning that will just absolutely blow your mind. I'm going to go take my seats. We love you all.
Dr. Jack Borla, of course,
Yes.
president of the IFCO. Thank you, Dr. Jack.
We're going live in a couple of moments.
Yeah.
A couple things, Liam.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning at the same exact time, we're doing the same exact thing.
Okay.
So repeating just with different guests, different
Is
speakers.
it another Green Book study?
It's another Green Book
Okay,
study
got it.
at 8 a.m. It's going to start
8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, New York time. So
We'll
find
probably
out what
kick off 15 or 20 minutes earlier than that for you and I. We'll do a little
That's true,
pre-game
yeah.
Green Book study.
So you're going to want to tune in about 7:30, 7:45 New York time. So just look up what time is it where I'm at, 7:30, 7:40 New York time.
Then the biggest special announcement that Scott Garber gave just this past week, the Dr. Irene Gold and Dr. Peter Kevorkian.
Oh, that's big.
That interview is going to be taking place 6:15 p.m. Saturday night.
That's right. And so you're going to get the opportunity to see probably one of the greatest chiropractic communicators, Dr. Irene Gold. And again, almost a veritable historian of the past 50, 60 years of chiropractic, the advancing of subluxation-centered chiropractic in the profession. Her husband, of course, Dr. Reggie Gold, the late, great Dr. Reggie Gold. And she shares some stories. She's a riot. She's a laugh riot.
Absolutely.
She's absolutely entertaining and informative at the same time. By the way, the attendees of this year's Berkshire event are all getting a copy of her smash hit book Gold, written by Dr. Irene Gold and of course the Dr. Judd O'Grady as well, the co-author of
What
my
other
smash
book
hit
did
book.
he write?
I'm glad you mentioned it. He's also the co-author of my smash hit book, Cast to Be Chiropractors, which folks could get. They've been texting me privately here, how can I get a hold of that? www.cast2bechiropractors.com, Frank.
Excellent.
And that's available on Amazon as well in London, if in the UK, in Canada, and in France.
A couple months, in the month, right?
That's right.
I guess less than a month.
I'm glad you mentioned it. May 6th and May 7th, Schubel Vision coming to Amsterdam.
Looking forward to that
And then September 23rd and 24th will be in Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
And December 2nd and 3rd will be in Toluca, Mexico.
Nice.
So we're going to be teaching communication strategies, Frank, that
be
people we are going to be very busy. But, it's so needed around the world. Right. Here we go. Oh, looks like we're getting ready.
All right.
Okay, fantastic, folks. We're going to be starting here just about now. We have Dr. Lacey Book getting warmed up here. So we are going to pass the microphone and the video over to Dr. Lacey Book, who is just about ready. Dr. Lacey, are you ready? You starting off the Green Book study? We're ready. Ready to rock and roll. Okay. Take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our Green Book study. We don't have any Green Books, though. So we're just going to roll with it. The Delts are still sleeping. So we have a great program set up for you guys today. What we've decided to do today is we have a wonderful panel of three amazing gentlemen, Dr. Andy Roberts, Dr. Peter Kevorkian, and Dr. Steve Tullius. Dr. Andy who? Who's this guy? Does he know anything about philosophy? We'll find out. So today we have questions prepared that I'm going to be asking the panel. They're going to have 2 minutes each to answer and then 1 minute each to rebuttal. And then tomorrow, what my ask is for you is that if you have any questions that you want to ask them, send them to me via text, via Facebook, so that we can answer your questions in the Green Book study tomorrow. Are you excited? You look very excited. I love it. All right, let's get started. I think we're going to let Andy go last on this one. So, first question of the day for the Green Book study is, what is the cause of vertebral subluxation? Steve Tullius on the mic. 2 minutes starting now.
All right, 2 minutes. So, if we it's Tullius, like Julius with Julius with a T. So the cause of vertebral subluxation, if you look at the philosophy, it's caused by universal forces and the limitations of matter to be able to adapt those forces. So, if you take a step even further back, then what creates universal forces?
Can you get your mic a little closer?
Yes.
Perfect.
So what creates universal forces? Universal intelligence. So ultimately, if you take it that far back, then subluxation is a natural result of how this universe was designed. So I think we'll expand on that afterwards.
We're going to expand on that afterwards.
Okay, because 2 minutes is not really enough to go deeply into that, but I'm going to pass it over to Peter here.
We're going to go with Peter. Peter, what is the cause of vertebral subluxation?
The cause of vertebral subluxation is any time that the body's innate ability to resist a universal force or adapt a universal force constructively has the potential to cause a vertebral subluxation. The innate intelligence of the body is continually striving to hold the life form in which it resides in integrity, to allow that life form to take the forces that come at it, assimilate those forces, and do something constructive to allow that bit of matter to stay unique from the environment. It's constructive, constantly trying to create and recreate itself. Anytime a force is subjected upon that life form, whether it's a human body or an animal or anything, that it cannot take that force and constructively use within that matter to build, organize, reorganize, adapt that organism, it can potentially cause a vertebral subluxation. So simply put, a vertebral subluxation is caused anytime that there's a force that life form, that human, that animal cannot constructively adapt to. The body will then compromise the integrity of the nervous system due to that inability to adapt to that force.
So there's a lot of talk out there about the 3 T's, or actually 2 T's and an A. Do you have anything to say about that?
2 T's and an A?
Oh, Andy Roberts on the mic. 2 T's and an A.
2 T's and I haven't heard that one.
Uh-oh.
What's the A?
Oh, I only wants to answer that. Auto-suggestion, here we go.
So the classic...
2 minutes.
Hold on. Let me reset this. There is a bell that will go off at Andy's 2 minutes. Let's see if he takes it off.
The classic construct that's prevalent in our profession is that the cause is stress in the forms of the 2 T's and an A. And the classic one are the 3 T's, right? People say, what? Trauma,
thoughts, traumas, and toxins.
Right. So in reality, the way DD wrote it was trauma, yes. Trauma, yes. Toxins, which are the poisons, and then not thoughts, but auto-suggestion. You have to remember from where he came from. Now, although those stressors do affect us, my 2 colleagues have said here, I think it's really important to understand that we are constantly subjected to universal forces in every way, shape, and form. From the gravity in which we walk, the UV, the gravitational attraction or pull between people, the universal forces that hold the bonds of the molecules of which we're made up are all universal forces, are all stressors. But the key is the stressors, which we stress about, are actually, in reality, a good thing. Because without universal force, what can't you have? You can't have innate force. So while we try in our world to diminish and remove every stressor that we have, those stressors are absolutely vital to our existence. So within that framework, the matter in which we work, that the innate that resides in my body has to be successful in adapting those forces. As Peter said, from something that might be destructive to something that might be constructive, but really understand that's just a matter of perspective and how we're looking at it, which view. Something that we might view as destructive in a grand scheme of a universal cycle might be completely constructive for the bigger picture.
Time's up. Does anybody have anything to add from what Andy just said and stated? He was going down a road about things being destructive as being our perspective. That destruction is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just the connotation that we put on it. Anyone?
We'll never know what it's like to live outside our fish tank. We base our philosophy, we base our understanding of the universe on a limited perspective. So we're trying to step outside a particular paradigm or perspective to understand. A fish that's living in a fish tank has no idea the meaning of the universe. At least we don't think so. Okay? In the same way that we're in our own fish tank, we're in our own paradigm, in our own physical reality, and we're trying to understand how the universe is put together and a meaning behind that. So we create this language and understanding, just as Andy just said, what we may perceive as destructive from a different perspective could be extremely constructive. That every stressor could be empowering to the body, every stressor could be destructive to the body based upon how we choose to look at that. So I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, destruction is a necessary part of life, right? It's part of the cycle of life.
Yes.
It's very much needed. Okay, so on that note, if we all agree on that, but we say that subluxation is caused by the body's inability to adapt, the next question is subluxation a good thing? We're going to start with Andy on that one.
Categorically, subluxation, vertebral subluxation is not a good thing. You have to look at what vertebral subluxation does. And in effect, vertebral subluxation in the body interferes with the communication of the unique, original, purposeful design of which innate interacts with the matter. Meaning, this is the control system which coordinates, regulates, and allows for the normal function of this. That I'll open up the door and it would be in order. That's just not going to happen. Something has to be input into that system, into the room. My daughter actually has to expend energy to order that room. So it's the same thing with us. If we have the lump of flesh that is only under universal's purposeful, guys. It's going to go down to its component parts. It's innate intelligence that keeps us in active organization. To have a vertebral subluxation and interferes with that, it just makes no sense that you could say that that's a good thing.
So just really quickly, my question is, because people have said this, it's been said that innate does nothing to harm the body. So if innate doesn't do anything to harm the body and a vertebral subluxation is created, how can it be a bad thing?
So here's my take on this, and we're using words, such as good, and the word good is based upon our values, correct? Something is either good or bad. It's based upon our values, and so in this situation, we're talking about health and life. So we know, based upon everything that we spoke about yesterday, that subluxation interferes with the optimal expression of health and life as we've defined it as human beings. So from my vantage point, starting where I started off earlier, universal intelligence through universal forces that are created, ultimately subluxation is a natural consequence of life. Talking about the cycles that occur of creation and being broken down to the basic elements of the universe, subluxation interferes with that creative process and the building of life. And so in our value system, subluxation could never be a good thing because it is interfering with the expression of optimal health, life, and function. So we know that then the innate intelligence of the body will do everything it can to still strive for optimal health and function and expression. However, there's compensatory patterns that develop. There's greater levels of dis-ease, dysfunction, and ultimately the breakdown of tissue and the destruction of the human being. So, in my opinion, it could never be a good thing.
It's going to hold it real quick because I know Peter and I had a discussion about this yesterday evening. And what I love about this panel right now, and I think that you guys have such a great opportunity to hear all three of them, because they're all experts in the philosophy with a slightly different perspective of their understanding. And so what Peter's going to say, I think, is going to blow your mind a little bit. Peter? This guy set him up for that.
I'm not going to say subluxation is a good thing. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. I think subluxation, when it occurs, is an appropriate thing. The body is always striving to do the very, very best that it can do for itself. Life inside the body wants to be totally constructive, allow that organism to fully express the brilliance and genius of its creation. When a force happens to the body that the body can't assimilate, that it can't integrate, that it can't allow a constructive adaptation to occur, it will subluxate. But yet from a philosophically cruel place, that moment that subluxation occurs, it is the most intelligent response that the physiology can do. That if the subluxation didn't occur, something worse would have happened. The organism may have died. So it's willing to compromise the integrity of its control system in order to allow that life expression. Did I lose the mic? Can you hear me? You did.
You're good here. You're good here, Peter.
Oh, yeah.
You're good on the broadcast.
You're good on there, okay. If the subluxation didn't occur, something worse would have occurred. And that really hit home for me when I was early on in practice. Vern Pierce, developer of the Pierce technique, was talking about the lateral cervical curve, the A to P curve, the to get a lordotic curve there. And he says something, and only the way that Vern Pierce could have done it, he says, you never see anybody over the age of 60 with a straight cervical curve. You know why? Because they're dead. I mean, he proposed that we lost the cervical curve is due to the integrity of the biomechanics of the spine created by subluxation, and the body's attempt to adapt to that is what we could see the degenerative process that may occur in the cervical spine. Would you rather have degeneration or dead? You'd rather have degeneration. It's not preferred. Subluxation, when it occurs, is the same thing. You don't want a subluxation to occur, but hell, I'd rather that than dead. So is a subluxation a good thing? At the moment it occurs, at the moment the subluxation occurs, it's probably a good thing. Because if it didn't occur, something worse would have happened. Now the problem is the body holds that within the neuroskeleton and carries it to a future point in time. So it's holding that experience of the past to a different time in the future. It may not be the most appropriate thing.
Andy was looking at a timer. He's literally squirming to get back to the mic. Okay.
witness the Peter Kevorkian laugh live.
I love you, Andy.
There you go. Squirming. He's
I
still
love you,
squirming.
Peter.
Andy has 1 minute to say what he has to say.
Hey, do I get a minute back?
You get a minute back. And Steve can have a minute if he wants to as well. Okay, Andy, are you ready?
I love you,
Green
Peter.
Book study could be fun. Green Book
Don't
study
count
could
that
be
one.
fun.
Okay, ready?
And I love your perspective.
Go.
But, hey, listen. A vertebral subluxation occurs not because of innate intelligence, but because of the failure of the matter in which it resides. The limitations of matter in which this portion of innate resides has so much ability to either adapt a universal force or not. If it is untimely, if it is unbalanced, that universal force, because of that limitation of matter, will cause a vertebral subluxation, and that's only in a scale dependent on the force and the quality of the matter in which it resides. Something that might come along with a tap will have no effect. Body can, the innate intelligence through the matter can adapt to forces. Something a little harder, vertebral subluxation, something even harder might break a bone or cause more tissue damage. It's not a good thing in the moment, nor is it after the moment.
Steve?
Yeah, I think this, again, it goes back to this universal forces and what Andy said with the limitations of matter. Subluxation occurs when, due to those limitations of matter, and I can't, while I can certainly appreciate Peter's perspective on this, I don't think we can ever, I don't know that we can ever have any proof that subluxation, that something worse would have happened if the subluxation didn't occur. You know, this is, we're talking about philosophy here, and even, you know, the points and positions that Andy and I are holding, these are philosophic positions. And so there's no hard proof for either position. However, based upon our philosophy and the framework of the triune of life and the limitations of matter, I think that's where this conversation really needs to take place.
There is universal intelligence in all matter, giving to it its properties and actions, maintaining it in existence. Thus, maintaining it in existence, thank you. Where we take the meaning of that major premise, I think lies in the space of ultimate answer to this question. If we hold that merely within physical matter that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, then I'm going to agree with my colleagues. But if we're willing to take that premise extends into the non-physical aspects of our existence, relationships, issues of fear, joy, happiness, that the entire experience within the universe is built upon intelligent design. That who you see today, how you react to your environment, how you live in your world is as much a part of universal design as how this chair is or how I am. If we're willing to say that within the universal construct, everything that happens under an intelligent response. Hence, at the moment a subluxation occurs, it could very well be a good thing that happened at that moment based upon the construct of our universe. No more answers. You got
We do have a new question, but I'm sure that this has spurred a lot of questions from the audience. Maybe there's chat going on IFCO-TV. So if you guys can just pay attention on IFCO-TV, if you have questions, please post them so that Frank can give those to me so we can ask these guys tomorrow as a follow-up. All right, next question. So what does vertebral subluxation actually cause? Andy likes to go last so then he can frame his answer in 2 minutes.
Vertebral subluxation causes interference to the mental impulse. It causes interference to the information, to the intelligence, to the thought, the information that builds and sustains life. So I don't know really if I need to expand on that besides what we expanded on yesterday, then the neurophysiological consequences of that, which is again, it creates more dis-ease, dysfunction, and eventually the breakdown of the body.
Vertebral subluxation causes dissonance, torsion, distortion, within the neuroskeleton. It doesn't allow the nervous system to be at its ideal adaptability and functionality into the world. It's sort of like a tension upon that system. It's holding that experience, that subluxation process within the entire neuroskeleton. It doesn't have the freedom and ease of adaptability. It can no longer take forces and assimilate them as well. It's an extremely dynamic process. We tend to look at a subluxation as a very static thing. Much of our technical developments in our life and how we as chiropractors look at them is very linear. I believe that the subluxation process is an extremely powerful, multi-dimensional impact into the physiology, and it affects everything. It just doesn't affect how a liver or kidney works. It affects how we think. It affects how we relate. That distortion, torsion is held within that neuroskeleton until a force can come at the body that the body can take and allow itself to perceive itself better, dissipate what it no longer needs, come into the present moment, and allow that nervous system to be in better adaptability to organize and reorganize the physiology.
Really quickly, Peter, I know you're using the terminology neuroskeleton, which is probably a little bit of a new term for people when we're talking about that.
It's actually one of the oldest
terms. It's an old term from Didi, but a new term for the audience. So can you just briefly explain what you mean by that?
Well, as Matt McCoy mentioned yesterday, the one thing that we all agree upon in every technical system is that there's a biomechanical distortion and a neurological distortion that occurs when a subluxation is present. Didi Palmer referred to the term as neuroskeleton, where the structure and the function of the body had an intimate relationship. The thing that's implied in the use of the term neuroskeleton is this thing that we call the mental impulse, which is different than just bone and nerve. The mental impulse is such a large construct that is actually a beautiful construct that we have, where we meld our philosophical perspective into an expression of the clinical service that we do. So the neuroskeleton basically refers to this thing that we call a subluxation in terms of its impact into the physiology.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Andy is squirming again, so.
This is actually one of the coolest questions because there's so many layers to it, and I completely agree with both of my colleagues.
No way.
I'm sorry.
He's lying.
I'm sorry, everybody. I do completely agree. And on the most basic level, it's function, right? It affects function. That's ultimately in the normal complete cycle. Towards the bottom of the function of the cycle, in the tissue cell, gets to function and coordination. But in the
I had to. Sorry. I'm going to keep going.
But in the bigger framework, in the bigger picture, this is so cool. So think about a tree, like an apple tree, right? When the apple is connected to the tree, what happens to the apple? It grows, right? It's receiving what it needs to receive. It's connected. Same apple falls to the forest floor. What happens to the apple? Why? It's no longer connected to the innate intelligence. Now, universal forces are constantly acting on the tree, including the apples that are connected to the tree, right? But the innate intelligence of the tree is to what? Put in energy to organize its matter to keep it in existence. As soon as it's disconnected from the tree, it's still under the same universal forces that it's been bucking all the time it's been connected, but now no longer connected, so it breaks down to its component parts. It rots, right? Right down to its elemental form, to be in the grander universal cycle reused for the next generation. We are no different, and that's what vertebral subluxation does, even connected within the body. Our organs, our tissues are the apples. The vertebral subluxation is like cutting that apple off of the tree. So it leads us back to those elemental forms. So pathology is a form of returning back to its elemental form, because it's no longer under the auspices of innate intelligence. I mean, this is a really deep question and a really cool question when you look at it from the different perspectives.
Very good. I know. Good job, guys. So we actually have a couple questions from IFCO-TV. This one is one that we were going to ask anyway, so I love this one. It's a follow-up question. They want to know, does Innate talk to you? What do y'all think the answer to that is?
No.
Let your Innate speak, Steve. Let your Innate speak. No.
No, it does not talk to us. innate intelligence is impersonal. It's not this concept of the spirit or soul or that sort of thing. And this is where BJ went down a path that he should not have mixed with chiropractic. Yes, I've said this publicly, and I'll say it again right now. BJ mixed, and as did Didi. They mixed religion, religious concepts, spirituality with chiropractic, and I believe it's one of our biggest obstacles at this point to take chiropractic to the world. Future and current, or past and present philosophers of chiropractic have refined the philosophy and have removed those elements. And here's the thing. BJ talked about the innate mind, correct? So if these concepts are correct, and correcting a vertebral subluxation allows for an individual to be reconnected or connected to a universal power, or whatever you want to call it, this universal intelligence, to be more connected, to get these thought flashes, to get this information, which in my own personal belief system is true. If this occurs, and this is a true thing, then people will naturally come to that in an inside-out manner versus us having to, in an outside-in method, telling them that this is going to occur. And so I think that that is the true value of chiropractic, to allow people to experience that on their own terms and not for us to have to force it down their throats.
Go ahead, Peter.
My innate told me to keep it.
Yeah. Andy's innate screaming right now, so we'll let him go last.
One of the problems we face is the term innate. Innate, as in and of itself, not necessarily in chiropractic circles, means inborn. And so we tend to use the term innate intelligence, and we shorten it to innate within our construct. Sometimes people hear that as being equal to innate as being inborn. Innate intelligence is that aspect of universal intelligence that's taking forces and using to constructively express itself within matter. We call it living forms. It's different than inborn. Innate is inborn, but inborn can imply other things. So I think that's one of the challenges that we have in terms of terminology and why there's confusion regarding this. And I agree with you. I think BJ tended to mix spirituality with chiropractic, particularly in the latter part of his life. I believe that the ability of the human being to be intuitive, to be perceive the world beyond just their five senses, to be able to take those senses and have a knowing without knowing through the usual means, is as real a human function as the Krebs cycle, as respiration, as the heartbeat. So our intuitive sense is a real human process that we can have. By being free of vertebral subluxation, as your heart works better, your kidneys work better, your liver works better, your intuitive sense can work better. Your ability to cognate works better. Is that innate? It's no more innate than the heartbeat. It's no more innate than the digestion process. That we have an ability to be intuitive is an inborn process of human beings, if you will, innate. But is that innate intelligence? Is innate contacting me? No.
I mean, we do. We hear that all the time, that not only does innate talk to us, but innate talks to other innates. So my innate is currently, my innate is talking to Andy's innate right now, and it's not happy. So Andy, go ahead. You got 2 minutes.
I love both points made, and I think it was
Do you agree with them?
Dr. Reginald that said innate has a last name, innate intelligence. And I think that's important when we use our lexicon, not to throw out innate intelligence. That's the term, that's the lexicon, that's what we use. Look, innate doesn't talk to innate. It doesn't find you a parking spot at the mall. It doesn't give you the answer to question number 52 on boards. It does none of that. I mean, again, all of these questions have so many layers to it. But innate is selfish. It's selfish to you. It's designed to keep you an active organization. Just read the principles, look at its purpose and mission, and you'll know what it's there for and what it does and where it gets you to. In fact, it needs your senses to experience the external world outside of it and within it. And there are so many physiologic examples that we can use to buck that system. Now, can we communicate? Can we have a feeling, a message that, hey, Peter needs a call from me? A feeling that we do get whatever, the spot at the parking lot, right at the right spot? I'm sure all of those occur. But we as chiropractors, for some reason, love to make everything chiropractic. Whatever it is, oh man, that was a great omelet. Yeah, that's a chiropractic omelet. We tend to make everything chiropractic, and there are just things outside of chiropractic that have nothing to do with chiropractic, and that are awesome, and that are great, and that are wonderful. But Innate no more talks to yourself as it does talk to each other.
Right. Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Go, Peter.
I don't know if that's innate talking to innate, but there are forces that hold this universe together that is not completely understandable to our rational minds. Why is it that women who have a particular menstrual cycle and two women who have different cycles can come together, live in the same space for a while, and they get the same cycle? Why does that happen? Why do some people have spontaneous remission over diseases? That there are forces that exist in this world that we don't fully understand. But just as my words can land upon you and make an impression upon you and affect you, I believe my thoughts, my intentions can land upon you and make an influence upon you. But that isn't innate intelligence. That's Peter Kevorkian expressing innate intelligence in my matter that assembles words, that assembles intentions, that assembles vibrations that make an impression upon you. And you have the ability to perceive them, to be affected by them. Is that innate to innate communication? No, not by, as Andy said, not by innate intelligence. Innate intelligence is selfish. Okay, it's working to make me be the best me that I can be, but as I'm the best me that I can be, I may be able to influence you.
So, and I agree with my colleagues on this, and on that point, if those are true forces, those would then be universal forces. And once they leave Peter, if thoughts are indeed forces, then these would be universal forces that could then act on matter or anything else. But those would no longer be innate forces at that time. So, yeah, there's no innate to innate communication.
Innate, universal, innate.
And because if innate is selfish, then innate has no concern of what anybody else is doing, right? But yourself. So what would innate want to talk to somebody else's innate for? Because it is selfish. It has no worry about somebody needing an adjustment. Innate can't tell you when an adjustment is needed for somebody else. Innate can't tell you anything about anybody else's need because it's only concerned with your need, right? Go.
Correct.
Were you going to talk?
I was just going to.
He agreed with me?
I was just going to confuse the matter even more.
Well, let's do it. How about let's go?
So remember I said that there's layers. So just ponder this for a second. What's the difference between innate intelligence and universal intelligence? There is none. It's the same.
Subset.
Really. It's a subset, right? They use the example of the glass of water in the ocean. What the hell does that mean? What's that construct? So we're talking about divisions only really because we live in this physical world. And we have to have some means of discussing it. We have to have a logical deduction. And those are the principles that we can follow that give us the answers that we have. It's okay to talk about that stuff out here. But again, just because we're chiropractors doesn't make everything chiropractic. If we can work within our framework, we can more align ourselves to get on the same page, regardless of what table we're sitting at and what our thought process is chiropractically. And I think we could have a way more harmonious profession.
Very good, Andy.
I just want to have a chiropractic omelet.
It's egg whites and spinach, apparently. So we have a question that keeps popping up on IFCO-TV. It's been asked multiple times. We're talking a lot about universal intelligence as well as innate intelligence. And we brought up the point about religion. So is God universal intelligence, and is it an appropriate position for our profession to maintain. I would say that we don't have that to maintain in the first place. But let's just address, is God universal intelligence? Andy?
Hey, this is a deeper than a 2-minute answer.
Everything for him is deeper than a 2-minute answer.
Everything in chiropractic is deeper than a 2-minute.
A chiropractic omelet takes more than 2 minutes.
Exactly. Not the way I eat it.
Not the way Andy eats them.
Hey, listen, this is no fault of any one contemporary. This is the stream of thought of those of our founders. You just open up Stevenson's, which we would recommend. Jay has one right in front of him that he's going to use in his talk tomorrow. And I implore each and every one of you, don't just sit there in the audience and at home in your offices and homes and just listen to us and take us for face value. Get volume 14, get Stevenson's chiropractic textbook and read it once and read it twice and read it 5 times and read it until you incorporate it into your being so that you can have these same thoughts, these same conversations. Hey, look, from the beginning, God was brought into chiropractic. There was that line between the physical and the metaphysical. You have to understand from the beginning they were trying to put in our terms some abstract concept that we didn't understand in terms that we could understand. Throw into it that one of the founders of the development of the chiropractic philosophy, Dr. Craven, was a minister. So you put all of these things together and you could see how the language was formed. And it makes sense as they, universal is good, God is good, therefore universal intelligence is good. And therefore, a portion of that innate would be the soul within the body. And again, we're chiropractors, so we make everything chiropractic. But when we begin to look again at the selfishness of innate intelligence, B, the destructive tendency of the universal forces, there are a lot of constructs that we can come up with and reasons why that model really doesn't fit into it, that universal intelligence equals God, and so forth. You can be a believer and still follow form in the chiropractic philosophy, and you can be a complete atheist and still follow form in the chiropractic philosophy.
So the first question is, what's God? God means something different to each person, to each theology. To state that that's equal to universal intelligence isn't honoring to a religion, nor is it honoring to chiropractic. We've defined universal intelligence as that intelligence that holds the universe together, the organizational ideals that are there. Some people will see that as God, and some people won't. But that doesn't, our philosophy has its integrity independent of a theology. And I think to blend theology into it may be a personal benefit to a person, to a group. They may choose to do that. But to do that as a profession doesn't serve the profession, nor does it serve our patients. There is an integrity to our philosophy and an understanding of that rational deduction that we utilize as chiropractors to understand how we look at the world, how we integrate within the world, how we develop our service. To say that universal intelligence is God and to say that innate intelligence is spirit or Jesus may not be the most honoring to all people. So if that's a personal theology, great, that works for you, but that isn't what chiropractic is. So is universal intelligence God? I think God is probably bigger than universal intelligence.
Yeah, we need to understand that this entire discussion is based upon limitations of matter. Our entire perspective, our entire language, this construct, this philosophy we've created is a product of our educated mind, which is a product of our matter. Okay, so we've created this system in looking at the universe and seeing how the universe works together through the triune of life. And so it's not for us to say, what is God or who is God, or we recognize that there's order in this universe, that there's an intelligence behind the machine of matter, and that's it. We don't need to step over into the bounds of religion, and that's what makes a philosophy strong. Is not going to a place that is indefensible. Okay, and that's what we do when we start to go that place. Now, if a practice member comes into my office and I know their belief system fits into a particular theology, then they may have an understanding of universal intelligence as God, and that's fine. That works for them. But for us to go and to tell them that's not our place. For philosophy to be useful, it needs to be applicable. What do we want as a profession? Do we want to just tell people these concepts, and do we want them to get the philosophy, or do we ultimately want them to get the end result? I think that's what we need to look at as philosophers as well.
Fantastic. So that's it for today for our Green Book study. We're going to be back tomorrow morning again at 8 o'clock. So if you guys have any questions, remember, please message me on Facebook. Let me know your questions. IFCO-TV, if you have questions, let them know. We'll follow up tomorrow. And then we will be back answering those. And if you have more questions yourself, pick up a Green Book. Stevenson's Volume 14. We mentioned it here again from the stage. It's the place to start. So
downstairs.
Yeah, they have them downstairs. Well, I think they might have ran out because everybody's buying them. That's a good thing, right? So we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys very much.
Big round of applause for our panel and for Lacey Book. Get a mic.
Wow. Hey, how was that something, huh?
Absolutely.
Making the Greenbergs, it's early in the morning. Green Books, interesting and fun and exciting. What a great panel we had. Dr. Lacey Book, Dr. Andy Roberts, Dr. Peter Kevorkian. You got to hear his unique laugh. And Dr. Steve Tullius as well. Phenomenal presentation. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on IFCO television. And also, thank you for your questions. And by the way, we had a lot more questions than we could get to. Those will be handled tomorrow morning, Frank. We're going to be broadcasting live here tomorrow morning, starting at, we're going to start, about 7:40 in the morning, 7:30, 7:40 in the morning, New York time. So
8 a.m. is going to be the Green Book study.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be on maybe about 20 minutes earlier than that.
Okay, perfect.
So tune in. And guys, remember, tune in early so that crashing doesn't happen either. Get on early as you can.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that you're online and you're watching IFCO television live. Please share this. So many people, I know so many people could have benefited from watching this Green Book study live. Again, in so many schools around the world, Frank, chiropractic philosophy is nothing more than a historical concept. And I think we saw today that it's actually applicable to today's lifestyle.
And what a great way, what's today, Friday, a great way to start your Friday morning off with a Green Book study. You should do this every single day.
Yeah, well, that's true. You certainly should, garbage in, garbage out. Green Book is good stuff in.
Dr.
And
Knowles,
you manifest some good stuff out.
I do. What happens when you do cannolis in?
Oh my goodness!
You did cannolis this morning? Oh my gosh! No wonder you're in such a great mood.
Going around last night.
I got to tell you, are we still on live? Are we
Yeah.
live? Wow! I just got to tell you, I'm very excited about the next speaker. I'm very enthusiastic about her. I'm very passionate about her. She's awesome. She's my favorite speaker.
Are you? Let me guess. Are you speaking about Dr. Rochelle Knowles?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, we're excited too.
I even like her more than I like you speaking.
Well, I thank you for saying that. I got to tell you, Danny Knowles, we're going to get started here, but this
Good morning.
We got to break away now, Frank.
Yeah, we have to break away.
So we'll.
Let's try it again. Good morning.
Thank you again for joining us on IFCO television.
Oh, make it like you're awake. Good morning.
Have a great day.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay, let's pull everybody into the room. Big, loud, scream, applause. 1, 2, 3, loud. Yeah, you guys did better last night when we were done. Come on, let's hear it.